Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 42 of the Nigerian Football Weekly podcast. I'm your host, Oluoke. It's been another very, very eventful week of Nigerian football in terms of our footballers all over Europe and as well as the national team as we gear up to the Africa Cup of Nations, which is taking place in literally 3 weeks' time. You know, I'm very, very excited for that. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it. So in terms of the Premier League, as you all know, there were loads of disruptions over the weekend. 6 of the 10 Premier League games were cancelled or postponed, rather, until the new year because of COVID-19 situations. So what that meant is pretty much every single Super Eagle we've got in the Prem missed their Premier League game over the weekend. So starting with the Watford boys, they initially were going to play Burnley away on Wednesday night last week. That got cancelled. And they were supposed to play Crystal Palace at home on Saturday. That got cancelled as well. So that means they haven't played the game in literally 2 weeks. Next game for them will be on Boxing Day, 26th of December. So that's on Sunday. They go away to Wolverhampton Wanderers. That's going to be a tough game. Let's see what happens. I don't know what the state of play is regarding COVID, so we can't be 100% sure that these games are going to go ahead. But as long as we know, we think that the Super Eagles players will play a game. And that might be one of the last 2 or 3 games for Emmanuel Dennis before he goes to the Africa Cup of Nations. So I wish him all the best, along with Troost Ekong. After their game on Boxing Day against Wolves away, they play West Ham United on Tuesday night on the 28th at home. And then they play Tottenham Hotspur on New Year's Day. If I'm a betting man, I would say that the Prem would allow these players play, or rather, CAF will allow these players play their New Year's Day fixtures before they meet up with their teams. So I won't be surprised if we see Dennis and Ekong play these next 3 games before they go meet up with the national team for AFCON, which starts on the 9th of January. And remember, Nigeria's first game is on the 11th of January against Egypt. Egypt announced today their own provisional team. 28 of the 40 players play for Al Ahly, to be honest. No surprise there. We can't take them for granted. I think if we play our best, we should still beat Egypt. But we all know what's happening with Nigeria right now. We got a new coach. We don't know what the team's going to look like. We haven't exactly been playing that well over the past recent games. But if I'm being honest, I still think we should be beating Egypt. Mo Salah or not. But yeah, that's it for Watford. For the Leicester boys, they had both of their games cancelled over the last week as well. So they were going to play Tottenham Hotspur at home in the Premier League last week Thursday. That got cancelled. And then they were supposed to play Everton away on Sunday at 12 noon. That also got cancelled. So they haven't played the fixture since last weekend. Not this weekend, but the weekend before. They're actually in action in the League Cup quarterfinals. So they go to Anfield on Wednesday to play Liverpool. I'm not sure if this game is going to stand, but we could assume as at today. So I'm recording this podcast on Monday night, which is the 21st. I said 21st? The 20th, sorry. So let's see if that game goes ahead between Liverpool and Leicester City for now. And then it doesn't get any easier for Leicester. After this game, they play Manchester City on Boxing Day on Sunday. And then they play Liverpool again on the 28th of December. And then on New Year's Day, they're supposed to play Norwich City. But let's see what happens in terms of all these games going ahead or not. And then Frank Onyeka at Brentford, he also missed his game in the Premier League. He was scheduled to play Southampton on Saturday. His game last week was cancelled against Manchester United, which happened before I recorded the last episode of the podcast. So I was able to tell you guys before that happened. And then the game against Southampton also got subsequently cancelled. So Brentford haven't played the game in 2 weeks either. They're also in action in the League Cup, so they play on Wednesday at home against Chelsea. I'm not sure if this game will hold because there have been issues from both Chelsea's side as well as Brentford's sides in terms of fulfilling their fixtures. So let's see what happens. If they don't play that game on Boxing Day, Brentford go away to Brighton. And then on Wednesday the 29th, they play Manchester City at home. And then on New Year's Day, they play Aston Villa at home. So let's see which of these games comes to pass. By the way, the reason why I'm mentioning all these games is, thankfully, I'm on my way to Nigeria later this week. So I don't know when next I'll be able to bring the podcast to you. I'm hoping I can do the podcast while I'm in Nigeria next week. But in case I don't, I want to let you guys know all the games that's happening for the next 2 weeks. And then finally, in terms of the Premier League, Alex Iwobi's Everton They're one of the teams who actually had a game played over the last 7 days. So they played Chelsea away on Thursday, and they got a very, very credible 1-1 draw on Thursday night. I've forgotten the player. One of their academy players scored an equaliser. And Chelsea have just been conceding goals, man. It's not looking good for them at all. But anyway, Everton had their game on Sunday postponed as well. They were supposed to play Leicester City at home, so that got postponed. On Boxing Day, they played Burnley away, and then they played Newcastle at home on Thursday, December 30th, and then they played Brighton at home on January 2nd. So let's see if any of those games go ahead. For now, the Premier League announced today that they're going to try and get every single game that's supposed to go ahead going. So we haven't heard anything about disruptions or games not necessarily going ahead. But if you see 6 out of 10 games get cancelled, you likely believe that there might be issues on the way. But one of the benefits is the fact that the next round of games are in 6 days. So we don't have any more games until after Christmas Day. So I'm hoping that will just give a few of those teams a bit of space to breathe. And then we could stop all this COVID nonsense and get some Premier League action back on track. So in terms of the 4 games that were played over the weekend, my beloved Arsenal beat Leeds United 4-1. Thank you, we're in the top 4. We've got a 4-point lead over West Ham United. Yes, we've got a game over them, but you have to win your game, man. You got to risk it for a biscuit, man. You know what I'm saying? So right now, Arsenal are 4th in the Premier League, and I'm not complaining for any reason. Gabriel Martinelli scored a brace. He was excellent. Emil Smith-Rowe scored a goal. Bukayo Saka scored a goal. It was literally like we were raining the parade of the youngsters, man. Everybody was on fire. And then Manchester City demolished Newcastle on Sunday 4-0. I mean, João Cancelo was in excellent form. Raheem Sterling scored a goal as well. Man City were just Man City, to be honest. Wolverhampton drew 0-0 at home against Chelsea. So Chelsea dropped some points, which means that you can say the title race is pretty much between Liverpool and Man City for now, to be honest. And then in the final game of the weekend, Tottenham and Liverpool played one of the best games of the season. It was a 2-2 draw. Tottenham went ahead 1-0. Harry Kane finally scored his 2nd goal of the season. And then Liverpool equalised. And then Liverpool took the lead via Andrew Robertson. And then he got sent off. And then Alisson made a mistake. I don't know what he was thinking. And he allowed Son get in there and score an equaliser. But all in all, it was a fantastic game, guys, honestly. Brilliant, brilliant advert for the Premier League. And in terms of the next fixtures on Boxing Day, so as I said, today's the 20th. So we've got the next Premier League fixtures on Sunday. By God's grace, I'll be in Nigeria when that happens. But Premier League, we got Liverpool playing Leeds United at home and 12:30 kickoff fixtures. I expect Liverpool to beat them like 4-5-0. We'll see what happens. Wolverhampton play Watford at 12:30 as well. Burnley are at home against Everton. Manchester City play Leicester at home. Norwich are at home against my beloved Arsenal, so we need to stretch our lead in the 4th place, you know what I'm saying? Tottenham are at home against Crystal Palace. West Ham United are at home against Southampton. Aston Villa play Chelsea at home in the 5:30 p.m. kickoff. And then Brighton and Brentford round off the Sunday night fixtures at 8 p.m. with Brighton being the host. And then on Monday night, we've got Newcastle at home against Manchester United, which will be the final game of game week 19 over the Boxing Day fixtures. So I wish everybody well, but of course, I wish Arsenal the best. But that's it in terms of the Premier League. Moving on to League 1, we had a bunch of French Cup games, so there were no Ligue 1 games over this weekend, excuse me. They were all playing in the French Cup or the Coupe de France. Moses Simon's Nantes, they beat Sochaux away 5-4 on penalties after a 0-0 draw in regulation time in the round of 64. But next up for them, they do play Saint-Etienne away on Wednesday night before the Christmas break in France. So that should be a pretty good game. Terry Murphy's Lorient, they've continued to stink up the place, man. He came off the bench as they lost 1-0 to Rennes away in the Coupe de France. So they lost over the weekend. And it doesn't get any easier for them. They play PSG at home on Wednesday before the Christmas break. And then Samuel Kalu and Josh Maja. Josh Maja actually got some hope in terms of Bordeaux. So Kalu and Josh Maja came off the bench over the weekend as Bordeaux beat their opponents 10-0. Jume Mzwazi This team, they're not even a French team. They're one of the teams from the countries that France colonized. So you'd expect Josh Maja and Bordeaux to sweep them away, which they did, to be fair. And Josh Maja actually scored a goal. So he scored the 10th goal of their 10-0 win. Next up for Bordeaux, though, they play Lille at home on Wednesday before the Christmas break. And then they're in action in the French Cup on January 2nd. They'll be playing Brest away on the 2nd of January. Moving on to Serie A, Ola Aina's Torino. They're currently in 10th place in Serie A. They initially went out of the Coppa Italia last week Thursday, sorry. They lost 2-1 Sampdoria away. But in the league, though, they beat Hellas Verona 1-0 at home on Sunday. So they're now 10th in the league. However, they do play Inter Milan on Wednesday, who are currently top of the league by 4 points. So that'll be their last game before the international break. So we wish Ola Aina all the best. For Venezia, who's sitting 16th place, Okereke is currently injured. But we did see Taradebohi start at left back in their last game. They drew 1-1 away to Sampdoria away on Sunday evening. To be honest with you, I expect to see Taradebohi in the African Cup of Nations squad. I'm sorry, he deserves to be there. Especially when you're seeing Jamil Collins going in there from the 2nd division of Germany. But anyway, they've got one more tough tie before the international break. They play Lazio at home on Wednesday night, so that's going to be a tough tie. And then speaking of Isaac's success at Udinese, he was suspended over the weekend as they beat Cagliari 4-0 away on Saturday. Very, very good result. They're currently 15th in the league. On Tuesday night, though, they play Salernitana at home before the Christmas break. So as you've heard me say multiple times, Salernitana are the worst team in Serie A. They're 20th and they're fucking awful. I'm sorry. They are bad. Simeonenko and Joel B play for them, but they will most definitely get relegated this season. They did not score a goal for their 5th straight game. They got battered 5-0 at home to Inter Milan on Friday night. And then next up for them, they play Udinese on Tuesday night. So let's see what happens with Udinese and Salernitana. But if I'm a betting man, I expect Udinese to win this game comfortably, 2-0 or 3-0. And then Osimhen and Kingsley Michael are still injured for their respective sides. In the Bundesliga, we've seen Kevin Akpoguma's Hoffenheim. Although they were 4th in the last round of fixtures, they're now 5th. But that's simply because they drew their last 2 games. So they drew 2-2 away to Bayer Leverkusen on Wednesday night. No terrible result. But in more good news, Kevin Akpoguma scored the winning goal on Saturday. I mean, not winning goal, the equaliser, as they drew 1-1 at home to Borussia Mönchengladbach. So they were down 1-0, and in the last minute of stoppage time, Kevin Akpoguma came up with an equaliser. Now the Bundesliga is on winter break until January 8th, so there's no games happening in Germany until the new year. Taiwan Woni's Union Berlin, on the other hand, they drew 0-0 against Freiburg at home last week, Wednesday, who are actually 3rd in the league. So Freiburg are doing really well in the league. And then over the weekend, they beat Bochum 1-0 away, courtesy of a Max Kruse goal. Great goal, to be fair. Taiwan did start the game, to be fair, but they remain 7th in the league, and they're also in the winter break until the new year. And then finally, the Snabiamas Greater Fürth. After they won their first game of the season, they lost 3-0 against Dortmund away on Wednesday night. And then on Saturday, they got a credible 0-0 draw at home to Aalborg. So they're still 15 points off safety, and they're likely to go down to the 2nd division already. But then the winter break. So let's see what they could do in terms of just recuperating their team and getting ready for the new year. And finally, in terms of the top 5 leagues in La Liga, Samuel Chukwueze has scored back-to-back goals. Man, he's on fire. So in the Copa del Rey last week on Wednesday, he scored as they beat Atletico San Lugueno 7-1. He scored one of the goals in their 7-1 win. And then over the weekend, they beat Real Sociedad 3-1, who are one of the teams competing for the 4th place for the top 4 spots in La Liga. So very, very good result for Villarreal. They scored 3 goals. Gerard Moreno scored the first 2. And then they actually set up Samuel Chukwueze to score the last goal. And then it was just a great performance for Villarreal. I didn't expect it, but I'm going to take it. So shout out Samuel Chukwueze. 2 goals in 2 games. He scored his 4th goal in his last 6 games since he came back from injury. And he's playing really, really well. Next game for him, he plays Deportivo Alaves at home in La Liga on Tuesday night, tomorrow. and then La Liga will go on break in the champion. They'll go on break for Christmas, and then they'll resume in January. So that's it in terms of the top 5 leagues. I mean, pretty good performances from my boys, particularly Samuel Chukwueze. I mean, he always makes me proud, to be honest. Kevin Akpoguma also scoring a goal. The equaliser for Hoffenheim is a big, big moment. They're definitely in the run-in for the Champions League places after the halfway point of the league. So shout out to him. And yeah, great performance from our boys in the top 5 leagues. So moving on to the non-top 5 leagues in Europe, starting with the Premier League as usual. Zaidu Sanusi continues to play a lot of games for Porto. I'm glad to see him bounce back for his team. He was not in the squad last week Wednesday as they won 1-0 in the Portuguese Cup at home to Real Ave. However, he got back into the starting lineup on Sunday as they beat Vizela 4-0. And guess what? Zaidu Sanusi scored his first goal of the season. Shout out Zaidu Sanusi, man. Great goal as well. I saw it, man. You could tell he was very, very excited by the goal as well. So that's always a great thing to see. The next 2 games in the league and also in the Cup are against Benfica. So on Thursday, they play in the round of 16 for the Portuguese Cup at home to Benfica. And then over the weekend on Sunday, they play Benfica again before they go on an international break. In the Dutch Eredivisie, Cirodeza's final, they're currently now in 3rd place. So they lost 2-1 at home. Away to Twente on Wednesday in the Dutch Cup. So that was a bit of a bad result for them. But Cirodeza's did score a goal for Feyenoord, so he continues to have a pretty good season. And then in the league, they lost 2-0 at home to Ajax Amsterdam on Sunday. They were both level on points, but what this means is now Feyenoord are 3rd, while Ajax is 2nd, and PSV Eindhoven are actually top of the league. So it looks like we're in for a bit of a treat in the Dutch league, which is exciting. Next game for Cirodez and Feyenoord, they play Heerenveen away on Wednesday night before the break for Christmas. And then Maduka Okoye was back in action for Sparta Rotterdam, which is good to see. Before their game over the weekend, they played in a Wednesday Dutch Cup game, which Maduka Okoye was not fit for. They lost 2-1 away to Vitesse. However, over the weekend, they played the same team, and they drew 2-2 on Saturday with Maduka Okoye getting back into the lineup. So shout out Maduka Okoye, man. We're very, very happy to see you back in the national team. In terms of the league, before they go on the break, they play RKG Waalwijk on Thursday night. So that should be a very, very good game to watch. In the Belgian league, Alassane Youssouf's Royal Antwerp remains 2nd. He came off the bench on Thursday night as they beat Eupen 4-2. And then he was back in the starting lineup on Sunday as they drew 1-1 away to Genk. Next up for them, they play Kortrijk away on Boxing Day before this 3-week break in the Belgian league. Speaking of Genk, Paul Onuachu scored in back-to-back games for Genk. So he scored in a 4-2 win over Charleroi on Thursday night. And then he also scored in a 1-1 draw against Royal Antwerp. However, unfortunately, he got injured with a hamstring injury, which from all the reporting looks like it's going to make him miss the AFCON. Apparently, he's out for 3 to 4 weeks. So we're not going to see Paul Onuachu play in AFCON. But no disrespect to Paul Onuachu, but he's not one of the top 2 players for the national team in terms of strikers. So I think we'll be able to cope pretty okay without him, to be honest. No offense. Moving on to Scottish Premiership, and my boy Jaribo continues to dominate. You know what I'm saying? Back-to-back wins for Rangers and clean sheets. So they beat St. Johnstone 2-0 last week Wednesday, with Kevin Bassey and Jaribo both starting the game. Kevin Bassey continues to start a lot of games, man. His centre-back, man. What a player, man. I don't even know what to say, man. He just makes me excited. He just makes me happy. And then on Saturday, they beat Dundee United 1-0 at home on Saturday. Kevin Bassey started this game and Jaribo got rested, but he did come off the bench. This means that they continue to top of the league. They're 7 points ahead of Celtic, although they've played 1 game more. But that was because Celtic were playing in the League Cup and they won in the final this weekend against Hibernian 2-1, courtesy of Japanese striker Kyogo scoring 2 goals. However, we care about Rangers. Next up for Rangers, they play St. Mirren at home on Boxing Day, and they play Aberdeen away on Wednesday the 29th. And then on the 2nd of January, it's the Old Firm Derby, so they go away to Celtic. And then we'll see our Rangers players get released for Africa Cup of Nations. Moving on to the Turkish league, Anthony Narkayeme's Trabzonspor continue to dominate the league. They're 9 points ahead. They won 2-0 against Hatayspor at home on Saturday. However, Adriano came out suspended, so he missed that game. Next up for them, though, they play Altay away on Tuesday, so tomorrow night. And then they play Istanbul Başakşehir at home on Christmas Day at 4 p.m. And then they play in the Turkish Cup on December 28th against a team called Boluspor. Moving on to the brighter side, Samuel played for Fenerbahce. They're currently 5th in the league. He did start in the game over the weekend. They drew 2-2 at home against Besiktas. So very, very tough game. I thought Fenerbahce were going to win the game, to be honest. Besiktas scored them a goal in the last 20 minutes, which is unfortunate. Next up for them, they play Fatih Karagümrük away on Wednesday. And then they play Yeli Malatyaspor on Sunday at home. And then they're also in action in Turkish 5th round on Wednesday the 29th against Afjet Afyonyaspor on Wednesday the 29th of December, sorry. And then Ahmed Musa Fatih Karagümrük, he started over the weekend as they won 1-0 against Göztepe on Sunday. They're now up to 10th in the league. However, as I just mentioned, they play Fenerbahce at home on Wednesday, so that's going to be a tough fixture. And then they play Çaykur Rize's Alanyaspor on Boxing Day before they got a Turkish Cup round against Bodrumspor in the Turkish Cup 5th round on the 29th. Now, speaking of Çaykur Rize, he's back from injury, and he actually started Alanyaspor's game over the weekend. They lost 3-1 at home to Adana Demirspor, which is pretty annoying. However, though, they play Gaziantep on Wednesday night, and they play Fatih Karagümrük on Sunday before the Turkish Cup tie against Mardin BB on Wednesday the 29th. Çaykur, his team CSKA Moscow are now on international break. They're on holiday. Moving on to the Greek League, by the way, Hemriyeku was in action as Olympiacos beat Atromitos away 3-0 on Wednesday. He did not play in that game, actually, excuse me. And then on Sunday, they beat Lamia 1-0, so they continue to top the Greek League with Hemriyeku coming off the bench. Next up for them, though, they've got one more game for the Christmas break. So on Wednesday, they play Levadiakos. So hopefully, Hemriyeku gets some more minutes in that game. In the Czech Republic, we've seen Mitalaika Slavia Prague win in the Czech Cup. So we scored a penalty as they won 3-1 at home against Lyn last week, Wednesday. And then over the weekend, they drew against the team called Banik 3-3 on Sunday. So they continue to top the league by 1 point. But next up for them, they've got a Christmas break until the middle of January. And then finally in Cyprus, we've seen Abdullah Shehu and Francis Zoho both start for Omonia Nicosia. They lost 2-1 to Doxa away on Sunday. And next up for them, they've got a game on Wednesday against AEL at home. And then they play Apoel away on Boxing Day before their Christmas break. Starboy of the week, I have to give it to Samuel Chukwueze. He's had a bit of a tough time. He was injured for a long time. But the fact he scored in back-to-back games, which are both wins for Villarreal, is very, very good on for La Liga. Also, they played Real Sociedad, who are one of their rivals in terms of getting the top 4 spot in the league. So shout out to Samuel Chukwueze and shout out to Villarreal for pulling off such a brilliant result. 3-1 away to Real Sociedad is absolutely fantastic. So shout out to Samuel Chukwueze, our Starboy of the week. In terms of Nigerian news for the week, we expect the AFCON provisional list of 40 players to be announced this week. So watch out for that. We'll bring that to you. We also heard a bit of a rumor in terms of Super Eagles manager appointments. According to Sporting Life newspaper, apparently Jose Mourinho recommended this guy who's a Portuguese coach called Jose Paseiro. To be honest with you, I don't know much about it, and I wouldn't believe any of it, but I'm trying to bring it to you guys because you just never know with the NFL if you don't know what's true. And then in terms of the Africa Cup of Nations, with 3 weeks to go, CAF confirmed today with Patrick Mostepe giving an interview that AFCON will have no issues and we're going to see AFCON start on January 9th. So watch out for it. If you live in the UK, it's going to be on Sky Sports. If you live in Nigeria, it's going to be in Super Sports. If you live in Africa, it's going to be on Super Sports. So that's big in terms of the rights packages. I don't know about all the other countries, but let's bring on the AFCON, and boy, am I excited. Come on, Super Eagles. Let's go, Nigeria. And in terms of the ones to watch over the next festive period, we've got Olajuwon Torino playing away at Inter Milan on Wednesday, so that should be a tasty tie. We've got Murphy's Lorient playing away at PSG on Wednesday night as well. So that should be a tough tie. We've got, as its successes, Udinese playing against Joel Obi and Simino Salernitana on Wednesday. So that should be a tough tie. And then over the weekend, we've got Emmanuel Dennis back in action after looking to add to his 7 goals in the Premier League away at Wolverhampton on Boxing Day. Our Leicester gang, they're in action on Wednesday in the Carabao Cup against Chelsea. And then they play in the Boxing Day against Manchester City on Sunday. As for Porto, Zaidu Sanusi is in action against Benfica back-to-back. So on Thursday in the Portuguese Cup and as well as the League over the weekend. St. Mirren are in action against our Rangers boys on Boxing Day. And then they play Aberdeen away on the 29th before they play the Old Firm derby ahead of them mixing up with the national team. Especially Jaribo, we know how important he is for the national team in terms of high place. So wish him all the best. And then finally in the Turkish League on Wednesday, we've got Fatih Karagümrük playing at home against Fenerbahce. So that's Ahmed Musa against Bratislava Samo. And then on Boxing Day, we've got Ahmed Musa's team going away to play Tudor Wazim's Alanyaspor. So that's it in terms of the fixtures involving our super biggest players that you should watch. Thanks again for watching and listening to the podcast. I appreciate every single listener. Continue to spread the word as we try to do our best for Nigerian football. Please remember to follow us on our social media channels, on Twitter at NFWPOD, on Instagram at Nigerian Football Weekly, and Facebook.com/Nigerian Football Weekly. Merry Christmas. Enjoy the festive football. Thanks again for listening to Nigerian Football Weekly. And we'll be in touch with you either later this week. I'm going to Nigeria, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to bring a new episode. If not, I'll bring one in the new year. Have an amazing time. Thank you so much for all our listeners. We've been able to get listeners in 18 countries, which is a phenomenal achievement. Thank you all, and have a lovely Christmas. Peace out. Take care. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to get a notification whenever we drop a video. You can also find our social media channels listed below. And of course, up Super Eagles and Nigeriano the ever carry last.